If you're going to go fast, go it alone. If you want to go far, you got to go together. In this season where many are feeling like they're living a desert island experience, I want to bring us back together through stories. Although physically distant, our stories will bring us closer together and closer to God. So joining me this week on Desert Island Reflections, I have Oliver Jocher. Oliver tells me that he's never really grown out of that childhood phase of taking things apart and putting them back together. He loves his physical activity, swimming, cycling, hill walking, even at times getting up for an early morning run, although it's not competitive, he says. He lets us in a little bit of a secret where he finds a little bit of frustration in when he's putting things together. He wants everything to be perfect, but feels at times he maybe doesn't quite have the level of skill that he thinks he needs. But from what I've witnessed here today with the bike and with the fiddle and all of that, he certainly is a skillful man. So Ollie, thank you so much for your time. Welcome to Desert Island Reflections. Thank you for joining us. What are you doing at the moment currently for work?
I'm sitting at home, literally. My commute to work has lessened by 66 miles one way. The biggest hurdle I've got in the morning is down 14 steps.
Where did you grow up? Give us a wee bit of insight into your youth.
I was born in Clonmel in 1965, so back then we were in Ireland for a number of years, just short number of years, and then my dad went to seek work in Germany again. My grandfather set up the Falkland in 62. We came to, my parents then came to Ireland in 64 after the birth of their first child, which is my sister. I was born here, and then in 67, 68 we went back to Germany. I hadn't progressed to English until I was 10. We were in Germany and my dad died and we came back here. That leads me to my first signpost as well in Germany. I was 7 or 8. My sister and I were out cycling and we came across this chapel, and we went into the chapel and there was this most gorgeous sunlight streaming in through the stained glass windows onto a floor that had been prepped for what they call Ernte Dankfest, which would be festival harvest. Okay. It was just wonderful, and the presence of God. Yeah. And as a pre-teenager, you know, it sunk in. Didn't know what it meant, but it sunk in. It's my earliest memory of that type of an encounter, and it didn't happen for years and years again after that.
How did you and Fiona meet?
Well, it was in the library in the college, you know, and there's this lovely wee girl studying for whatever exam she was doing, and
you weren't interested in what she was studying?
Of course not. I was very interested in, and she had her French books open, so I spoke French to her as you do, you know, and that's how we met, you know. I was just bold. I went to her boldly. She spent a lot of time in chaplaincy, and I'd already made acquaintances with the chaplain there. Spent many hours there, and that was a turning point. I didn't give my life to Jesus at that stage, but I was closer to God then than I knew and realized. Though I still wasn't ready to make any commitment.
And so, give us a wee bit of your life story in between leaving college and you know, when you did make then that commitment that you mentioned.
So I studied engineering, mechanical engineering in Carlow, and graduated in 88. I went to England with Fiona, and we spent about six or 7 months over in London. So we packed up and went to Germany.
And tell us then, so how did that sort of, like you were saying, you weren't quite ready to commit. How did that come about? Describe that to us when you made your commitment.
Fiona had invited me to her prayer group, and there was a guy there, and she said, he's very funny, but he gives a good message, but he's very funny at the same time. So that was my first exposure where I thought, there could be something in this.
Yeah.
But it wasn't until a couple of weeks later when they had another guest speaker from Canada, a guy by the name of Lionel Backey, who'd said a serious message and then an altar call, and I said, yo!
Yeah. I'm all in.
I'm all in.
Tell me just then your love for music.
From the earliest days, I can remember there was always a record turning in my house, and it might have been Glenn Campbell or Tammy Wynette, or it might have been Bach, Rachmaninoff or Beethoven. There were no favourites of any genre in our house, so that opened the door to a very broad spectrum.
What about lockdown? How has lockdown been for you? Has it been a positive experience in terms of, I know that you've been working from home, so you don't have the commute?
Yeah, in the main, it's been pretty positive. Like you shared earlier, you've got mixed. You can be an introvert and an extrovert at the same time, which sounds a contradiction in terms, but every extrovert, and I'm highly extrovert. I love people. I love meeting people. I love talking. I like anybody that you'll meet in the church will tell you I'm a hugger.
I've heard you throw the odd kiss every now and again as well.
Well, there has been one or two. Yes, indeed.
International greetings, that's what I put it out to. It's also scriptural.
There you go. Greet each other with a holy kiss. Yes, indeed. And Sean will tell you the same. But on the other hand, there are times when you just want to have a bit of solitude. But a year and a half now at this stage is a bit long.
Anything you're looking forward to in the future, as we emerge from this? Obviously getting back in a building with people to...
What am I looking forward to? Yes, I'm definitely looking forward to 2 days a week, possibly going back up when everybody is settled back into a routine. So we've got a hybrid model of working, so it's great.
Thanks so much for having us, and it's been great to chat to you. I suppose during this time of lockdown, our hope with these chats is that even though we're physically distant, that through our stories we're getting closer in some ways to each other and also closer to God. So thank you for taking the time with us today and sharing your story.
Yes, it was my absolute pleasure. Thank you for taking the time and coming out.
Thanks.